I'm Adriana Vaux, one of the advisors here at the Tenant Farmers Association, and today I'm going to be talking about looking for and tendering for farms. So one of the questions I frequently get asked is, where do I find farms to rent? Well, the answer is that there are actually many publications such as Farmers Weekly and Farmers Guardian which regularly, on a weekly basis, update the farms which they have for rent across the country. We also have a free e-newsletter which comes out every Friday by email, which lists as many farm opportunities as we can find up and down the country. So they're a good start to find farm opportunities. It's also worth checking county council websites who have small holdings, and they make really good starter units. How do I go about putting a tender in? Well, the first thing to do is to apply for a tender pack to get the details and the particulars of the farm. Once you've got those, read them through thoroughly and make notes, make comments, and book a viewing day. When you turn up to the viewing day, it's really important to look smart, to provide a good first impression. Have a chat with the agent to get to know him. Look around the farm, make notes on all of the fields, all of the buildings. Have a look to see if there are any documents which are available to view. This could be the tenancy agreement, schedule of condition, any information on any environmental or countryside stewardship agreements, or how the land lays with the basic payment scheme. Also have a look at any dwellings, such as the farmhouse that there may be there. Look at the limitations of the farm, the soil type, how much grass is growing, what you can crop. If you're going to be wanting livestock, is the livestock fencing livestock proof? What are the utilities on the holding? Is there electricity, water? What are they like? Are the sheds suitable? Have a look around the buildings to see how you can utilise those buildings. So make a really good mental note and written note of exactly everything that's on the holding. So what should you do after that? Well, the next thing is to put in a tender. This is usually in the form of an application form, but some organisations might ask for a business plan. So a business plan is usually a document which is a good way of selling yourself, explaining about your business, how you're going to be moving this particular farm business forward, and including budgets, which may be cash flow forecast for 3 years plus, profit and loss, and a balance sheet. A lot of questions we get arranged round what rent should you tender. Well, there is no black and white answer to this question. We always advise that you should actually calculate the rent which you can afford. I say that this should be done in the form of a whole farm gross margin, which means that it comes out with a figure that you can actually realistically afford. Unfortunately, we come across members who have tendered a far too high rent, which means that it's simply not sustainable for the duration of their tenancy, and they often have to leave early, utilising a break clause, or actually have to struggle paying the rent, and that leads to problems down the line. So the most important thing is, do tender a rent which you can realistically afford. Unfortunately, with the market as it is, tender rents are often incredibly high. People tender far too high. These tenders are often farmers who have other main holdings, and they can tender a bit higher to, for example, have cows on that land, whereas for someone who's a new entrant, that tender's just simply not sustainable. So do it on a budgetary basis. After that, what happens is that you have an interview, if you're fortunate to be offered one, and this will take place in the front of a panel who will be asking questions based on your business plan and budgets, and therefore it's incredibly important to have drawn up your business plan yourself rather than having a professional do this. And the reason for this is that they want to see that you know your business plan inside out. They want to know that this business plan is you. They want to know that you can justify everything within that business plan, that your idea is not just an idea, it's actually a reality, and you can make it work. They will also quiz you on your budget, so these budgets need to be watertight. If you have any questions, then here at the TFA, we're more than happy to look through your business plan and budgets to provide that extra guidance, or if you want us to come up with interview questions, we're more than happy to do that as well. what should you do if you're offered the farm? Well, the first thing you need to do is to check what documents have been given on the viewing day to see if there's anything which is mandatory. However, farm business tenancies and the process of gaining one is purely a negotiation, so it's really important that you have a professional read through all the documents and they are open to amendment. So you need to make sure, for example, the first document is what's called a schedule of condition is drawn up. This means that a report is drawn up with photographic evidence of all the buildings, the fields, everything on the farm to show its condition before you entered the tenancy. This is really important. So at the end of the tenancy, if the landlord says, oh, this window was broken, you can say, actually, here's the schedule of condition, it wasn't broken. This is really important to protect yourself, and unfortunately a lot of landlords are shying away from using a schedule of condition and making the tenant sign an FBT without a schedule of condition. So get a schedule of condition drawn up. If the landlord is not willing to have one done, you pay for one yourself and have that signed and a copy sent to the landlord. After that, look at the farm business tenancy. It's a new draft, it's open to amendments, it's open to negotiation. It's not a standard agreement by any means, despite landlords unfortunately saying it is. We often find clauses which cause a huge amount of problems to tenants, such as break clauses which are exercisable by the landlord for no reason. We find BPS payments having to be paid to the landlord. We find repairing obligations being shoved from landlord to tenant, and the same with insurance payments. And end of tenancy, we find tenant's basic payment scheme entitlements having to be transferred to the landlord for free of charge. These are all something which is not acceptable, and it's not reasonable or fair to the tenant, and therefore it's vital that you seek professional help before signing any agreement. You also need to look at other things besides the tenancy agreement, such as the stamp duty land tax that you may need to pay. Do you need to pay it, and have you calculated how much it's going to be? You also need to register the land with the land registry, and then you need to think of other things such as, do you have enough finance and capital to make the investments that you do? Have you got finance in place? You may need a guarantor for the agreement, and then moving forward, have you got the support that you need for your life as a farmer, whether it's using the Tenant Farmers Association, your own agent, or family and friends. So there's a lot to look forward to, but also a lot to think about. So if you have any questions, then please do not hesitate to contact us here at the Tenant Farmers Association.